What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Before I get into this video, I want to remind you guys, as always, if you're looking at this video and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. If you haven't hit that notification bell, please hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified of any video that I drop as soon as it's dropped. And also hit that like button if you like and or appreciate the content on my channel. Also, if you wish to, if you choose to donate to Too Raw for TV, you can do so in the links in the description box. And I wish more so than that you guys will come over to the Patreon. I think all you guys have signed up to the Patreon so far. For only $2 per month on the Patreon, you're able to hear me talk about stuff outside of sports that I can on YouTube. And also, I can kind of go more in depth about how I feel about certain things in the NBA that I can't do on YouTube. Now, shout out to Ticket TV for a video that he did on this topic last night. Uh, Kobe Bryant, in an interview, let me look at it right now. Kobe Bryant, in an interview, said he was asked. Wait a minute. All right, he was on a podcast called Ledlow and Parker, and he was asked a pretty interesting question about coming back to the game of basketball. Candace Parker, who I would fuck vigorously, asked Kobe Bryant if he would return with the guarantee of a sixth championship awaiting him. Uh, Kobe Bryant said, uh, no. I like my rings the hard way. I like to fight through them. I don't like to jump into the easy route. And, many people interpret that as a diss on LeBron James. Um, this is how I look at it. It is in some ways, and in other ways, it isn't. Okay? And I don't know if it's directly a diss on LeBron, but it's damn sure a diss on the culture that he helped to create with this building super teams and joining up with other players to try to increase your odds of winning a title. Um, I kind of this is how I feel about it. I've heard Shaq and I've heard Charles Barkley argue about this. You've heard these guys, and they're friends. They're very close, but they do go at each other when it comes to this argument. You've heard them on TNT, like they sometimes like they're going to come to blows, but they're not. You've heard Shaq say, "That's why you never won a damn championship, because your mindset about this topic." And Shaq like, "Yeah, I want every goddamn good player on my team." And Charles Barkley comes with the competitive argument, like Charles Barkley, like, "Don't you want to compete?" And he said it about LeBron James, like, "Don't you want to compete? You want to have every goddamn good player on your team?" So I can understand the argument for both sides, but I tend to side more with Charles. I think, like he said when he was with the Phoenix Suns, you got a team with perennial All-Star and would have been Hall of Fame if he didn't get hurt so damn much, Kevin Johnson. You got six-man award, candidate Dan Marley. All right, you got should be in the Hall of Fame Tom Chambers on your team. All right, who else is on that team? Cedric Ceballos, Richard Dumas, Frank Johnson. Uh, Damn, I can't remember the team like I used to. Oliver Miller. I think Mark West was on that team. They had a deep squad. There's some other people I'm forgetting. He's like, yeah, shit, I like our team. We got, yeah. I didn't have help in Philadelphia when I was doing every goddamn thing, averaging 26 and 12 on 59% shooting. Okay, I'm doing every damn thing now. I don't have to work as hard. Now, ultimately, it didn't work for Charles, but it wasn't because of not for effort. He just was in a very competitive conference, you know, and unfortunately, he played the same time as Hakeem Olajuwon. But I do think that going back to the original topic at hand, I do think this is an indictment on the culture that LeBron did help to create. I mean, let's be honest. And he's influenced a lot of people to follow route. Uh, this started with Miami. I mean, you can make the argument that it started with Boston and their big three, but they didn't, from what the evidence out there, they didn't conspire with one another to join the team up. Uh, Danny Ainge was able to get that trade through Kevin McHale to get Kevin Garnett to Boston to join Paul Pierce, who wasn't doing shit in Boston. And of course, they got Ray Allen via free agency. Um, that just was a fortunate turn of events for the Boston Celtics. All right, with Miami, that was a conspiracy, if you want to call it that. That was collusion, to borrow that popular political phrase. They joined together. Okay, they wanted to join together and do something big in Miami. Okay, um, at the time, Kevin Durant criticized that, like what happened to competition, whatever. But even Kevin Durant started feeling the pressure of winning. This pressure, not only just personal pressure, but you see it for the media. These guys in the media put such an emphasis on winning championships now, and that your legacy is flawed if you don't win a championship. Don't get me wrong; these guys do go out here and play the game to win a title in the long run. But at the end of the day, you cannot negate a great player. You can't negate his legacy even if he doesn't win a championship. All right, for every Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, there's like a dozen Elgin Baylors, Charles Barkley, and Patrick Ewings, and John Stocktons and Karl Malones. Okay, so there's that. All right. But yeah, the media influenced these guys a lot. That's why Kevin Durant went from "Don't you want to compete" to going to the 73-9 previously the Warriors. Um, there's a lot of pressure on these guys to win. We're starting to see that with Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's a lot of talk out there that if the Bucks fall flat again this year, they might lose Giannis this year. There's such an emphasis on winning. Part of it, like I said, is the media. You know what I'm saying? If you don't win a championship in a couple of seasons, then you're a failure. You're not doing anything. Even though Giannis is one of the best players in the NBA by far, but because he hasn't won a championship, even though he's only 24 years old, somehow his career is lacking. When the picture, his career is nowhere. He has so much more basketball to play than what he's already accomplished. So it's ridiculous that he has all this fucking pressure on him to win now. So part of it is, the culture out there, the culture of winning that's in our country. Win bigly. Do I got to go further with that? You know, just the American culture. Then, of course, with the media, in particular in this instance, the sports media, it's always everybody wants to be the biggest, the best, the fastest, the toughest, the strongest. So Kobe Bryant comes from an era that I kind of can relate to, where you wanted to beat your competition. You wanted to beat everybody else. You didn't want to join up with everybody. When Kobe came to the NBA in 1996, the culture was still more dominant that these guys really weren't friends with each other like that. You might be friendly with some guys, but for the most part, you looked at your opponents as adversaries. That's why there were so many more fights back then. I mean, let alone the rule issues, but were a little bit different, and the game was more physical. But these guys weren't cool with each other like that. It bothers me when I see dudes dapping dudes from the other team, and you lost by 25. That bothers the fuck out of me because it makes me question these guys' mindsets. So yeah, I kind of understand where Kobe's coming from. Like when he says he wants his the hard way, he wants to compete and win a championship. He wants to go through that journey. He wants to go through that grind. It's so much more fulfilling to win a championship when you got to go through that grind. And I can and it's People can spin it all they want to. It's the absolute fucking truth. Nobody can convince me. Nobody can convince me that when LeBron won his last title in 2016, right, when he was with Cleveland, and they had to come back for that 3 games to 1 deficit. I don't care how he did it. Yeah, Draymond with a Game 5 suspension. Yeah, Bogut went down. I get all of that. Okay, all right. But the year prior, nobody wanted to hear about Cleveland with their injuries, right? So fuck it. But nobody can convince me that LeBron James, the way he celebrated, and mind you, I did pick Cleveland in 7. Nobody else went on a limb and said Cleveland in 7. I did. And I want all fucking praise for that. Y'all want to get on me when I'm off with shit. Hey, too raw, man. You was wrong about that one. Hey, too raw. You was wrong about that. But when I'm right, it's fucking crickets in the comment section. But anyway, nobody can tell me that he didn't get more satisfaction out of winning that championship because of the struggle and how they had to overcome adversity. You look at how he celebrated with that title as opposed to the ones in Miami. He celebrated, he was happy, but he got more personal satisfaction out of that one. That's the one where he said, in hindsight, that made him the GOAT. Now, I don't agree with that, but it was the adversity he had to overcome. Going up against a team that the media was saying was the greatest of all time, the unbeatable Warriors. That's what Kobe Bryant's talking about. You get so much more personal satisfaction out of that. Sort of like if you're a dude, average guy, you know what I'm saying, average job, and it's this chick. She got a great job, you know what I'm saying? She makes more money than you know, a car, better car, you know what I'm saying? You driving a goddamn a lemon and she just, I mean, this is just a bad chick, man. Booty, you know what I'm saying? Beauty, everything. And every other dude tells you that she's out of your league, but you go at her, and you go at her, and you go at her, and finally, you know what I'm saying, after a long struggle with it, you know what I'm saying, you get the draws, dog. You would get so much more satisfaction out of hitting that as opposed to a dude who is on the same level or maybe even higher. You know what I'm saying? A guy that's a fucking manager or president somewhere. You know what I'm saying? You would look at that differently than a guy who's on a higher plane. You'd be like, that's just another chick for me. For you, it would be, you know, unbelievable come up. Some of it's perspective, you know what I'm saying? But you get more satisfaction out of overcoming odds and adversity than you do just coming along for a free ride. And then also at this too, Kobe is also indicting a lot of these ring chasing dudes. Um, Nobody would criticize Vince Carter for ring chasing at this stage of his career, but he's not doing it. Some people wonder why he's not doing it, but maybe he feels like if he was ring chasing at this time, would he really be a champion? Being the 15th or 14th man on the roster, like would he really be accomplishing anything? And you do see that with some players who at the end of their rope, they start ring chasing. John Sally was doing that. Robert Parish did it his last year. Shit, he joined with the Bulls because he's trying to get another ring. You know, nothing against Robert Parish, because he already won a couple titles with the Boston Celtics, but he was ring chasing. You know what I'm saying? But we saw what happened to DeMarcus Cousins. What looked like to be it could be an easy ring, and it didn't work out for him. You know, Kobe, and also Kobe Bryant with his legacy. Yeah, he could join the Lakers, and ultimately he would tie Mike but it really would be like an asterisk on that sixth ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't really grind for it. He didn't really, and you can make the argument at this stage of his career, if he was to come back, Kobe didn't look really good his last couple of years. Yeah, he had the 60-point game, but they was force feeding him that game. Uh, if Kobe looked pretty bad his last couple of years, you can only imagine how he would look now at 41. He wouldn't want to ruin his legacy like that. And you know, he knows why he doesn't want to play anymore. He couldn't play anymore. He really couldn't play the game at a high level. So there's that. All right. So that's pretty much all I got to say. I think Kobe Bryant's statements are more of an indictment on the culture of the NBA right now, and some of it is aimed at LeBron because he seems to be the face of that shit. But that's pretty much all I got to say.